I still remember the exact moment everything started to fall apart. It was a quiet Saturday morning when I pulled into my dad's driveway and saw a man I had never seen before. He wasn't just standing there, he was taking pictures, not casual pictures, professional ones, a camera with a long lens, a clipboard in his hand, walking slowly around the house like he was studying it, measuring it, pricing it. And my dad, he was standing on the porch, gripping the railing so tightly his knuckles had turned white. Not saying a word. Not even looking at me. He was staring through the front door, like something inside scared him more than the stranger outside. That was the moment I knew something was very, very wrong. I got out of the car fast. "Dad, what's going on?" He didn't answer immediately, just shook his head slightly and whispered, "He says he's a friend." A friend. I looked back at the man. Friends don't measure your house. Friends don't take pictures of your foundation. Friends don't carry appraisal forms. My stomach dropped. Without saying another word, I walked straight past my dad, pushed open the front door, and stepped inside, and there he was, sitting at the kitchen table like he had never left. My brother. Ethan. 7 years. 7 years without showing up. Without calling. Without caring. And now suddenly, he was sitting in my father's house like he owned it, in front of him, a stack of papers, legal papers. And the moment he saw me, he smiled. That same smile I remembered from years ago, the one that always meant trouble. "Hey sis," he said casually, leaning back in his chair. "Long time before I tell you what happened next, you need to understand something. This house, this wasn't just a house. I built it. For my father. 4 years ago, I realized something that changed everything. My dad wasn't weak. He wasn't losing his mind. He was losing his independence, and there's a difference. A big one. I remember the first time I noticed it. He was standing in the hallway, trying to open the kitchen door. Just a simple round doorknob, something he had used his entire life. But his fingers wouldn't cooperate. They were stiff, swollen, refusing to bend the way they used to. He tried once, then again, then again. 40 seconds, that's how long it took him, just to open a door. And when he finally did, he walked through like nothing happened, like I hadn't seen it, like it didn't matter. But it did. It mattered more than anything. Because in that moment, I realized my father wasn't asking for help, but he needed it. The house he was living in, it was fighting him. Every step, every door. Every movement. The stairs were uneven. The bathroom was cramped. The handles were wrong. Everything required effort he no longer had, and I knew, if something didn't change, he wouldn't last there. So I made a decision that would cost me everything. I downsized my apartment, sold my car, took extra work, saved every single dollar I could. No vacations. No luxuries. Just a goal. Build him a house that wouldn't fight him, a house that would work with him. And I didn't tell him, because I knew he would say no. My dad doesn't accept help. Not from anyone. It took 4 years, for long, exhausting years. But when it was done, it was perfect. No stairs, only smooth ramps. Doors that opened with one push. Handles he didn't have to grip. A kitchen designed for ease. A bathroom built for safety. And in the back, a workshop. His workshop. With every tool he loved, placed exactly where his hands could still reach. The day I showed him the house, he didn't say a word. He just walked through it slowly, touching everything, testing everything, feeling everything. And when he reached the workshop, he stopped. For a long time. Then he turned to me, eyes full. Voice quiet. "You did this." I nodded, and for the first time in years, his hands stopped shaking. That's when I knew. I didn't just build him a house, I gave him his life back. And that's exactly what my brother came to take. Back in the present, I stood in that kitchen, staring at Ethan. "What are you doing here?" I asked. He leaned forward, sliding the papers slightly toward me. "I think it's time we talk about Dad's future." I didn't sit. I didn't move. "What's that supposed to mean?" He sighed. Like I was the difficult one. "Lauren, he can't live here forever." I felt something snap inside me. This house was built for him. "Yeah," he said calmly, "and it's worth a lot of money too." That's when I looked down at the papers. And my heart dropped. Guardianship forms. Power of attorney. And a brochure. A nursing home. I slowly looked back up at him. "You've got to be kidding me." "I'm being realistic," he said. "He needs care, professional care." "No," I said quietly. "You need money." His expression changed for just a second, just enough to confirm it. Outside, I could still hear the camera clicking. The man was still taking pictures, still measuring, still preparing, and suddenly everything made sense. He didn't come back for Dad, he came back for the house. I didn't say anything for a few seconds. Not because I didn't have something to say, but because I was trying to control what I shouldn't say. Because the truth was ugly, and once it came out, there was no putting it back. I stepped closer to the table, slowly, carefully, like I was approaching something dangerous. You haven't been here in 7 years, I said. My voice was calm to calm. And now you walk in with legal papers and a nursing home brochure. Ethan leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. I've been thinking about this for a long time. No, I shook my head. You haven't. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched between us, heavy, uncomfortable. Then he did what Ethan always does. He softened his voice, changed his tone, shifted the angle. Look, I know how this looks, he said. I really do, but you're too close to this, Lauren. Too close. That word hit harder than anything else. I've been here, I said quietly. Every week, every appointment, every bad day, I know. He nodded. And you've done a great job. Seriously. You have that fake sincerity, that careful respect. It made my stomach turn, but this isn't sustainable, he continued. You have your own life. I am living my life, I snapped. Yeah, he raised an eyebrow. Because from where I'm standing, your entire life revolves around Dad. That one landed. Because part of me, the smallest, quietest part, knew there was truth in it, and Ethan saw it. Of course he did. He always knew exactly where to press. Before I could respond, the front door opened, voices filled the house. The housewarming guests had started arriving. Ethan stood up instantly. Like nothing had happened. Like we weren't just in the middle of something serious. Perfect timing, he said, smoothing his shirt. Let's not do this in front of everyone. But I knew better. That's exactly where he wanted to do it. Within minutes, the house filled with people, neighbors, old friends. People who had known my parents for years. Laughter, conversation, plates. Clinking. It should have felt warm, happy, like a celebration. But something felt off. Because Ethan was working the room. I watched him from across the kitchen. He moved from person to person, effortlessly, smiling, shaking hands, listening, laughing, like he had never left, like he had always been here. Mrs. Marsh, he said warmly, spotting one of the neighbors. It's so good to see you. Oh my goodness, Ethan, she smiled in surprise. You're back. Yeah, he nodded, lowering his voice slightly. I've been worried about Dad. There it was. The first piece. Planted, I mean. Lauren's been amazing. He added quickly. She really has. Compliment first, then concern, classic. But she works so much. He continued. And Dad's out here alone most of the time. Mrs. Marsh's smile faded slightly. I hadn't thought about that. I just want what's best for him, Ethan said softly. I felt my hands tighten around the plate I was holding. He was building something, a story. One person at a time. By the time he moved on to the next group, I could already see it spreading. The nods, the concerned looks, the whispers, and the worst part, nothing he was saying sounded wrong. Because yes, there were risks. Yes, Dad was getting older. Yes, he needed help sometimes. But Ethan wasn't telling the whole story. He was shaping it, bending it, turning concern into justification. And then it happened. It was subtle, so subtle most people wouldn't notice, but I did. Because I knew my father. Ethan walked over to the table with a glass. Pitcher. Heavy. Ceramic. Full. He placed it in front of Dad. Hey Dad, he said, casually, can you pour some water for Mrs. Marsh? My heart dropped instantly. There were lighter cups in the kitchen. Plastic ones. Easy to hold, easy to pour. I had bought them specifically for him, but Ethan didn't use those. He chose the heaviest thing in the room. Dad reached for the pitcher. Slowly. Carefully, both hands gripping it. For a second, it looked like he had it. Then his wrist tilted. Just slightly, too. Much water spilled. Not a lot, but enough. Enough for people to notice. Oh here, Dad, I've got it. Ethan said quickly, taking the pitcher back. Too quickly, too smoothly, like he was waiting for it. It's okay, no problem, he added, wiping the table. But the moment had already happened. I looked around the room. Mrs. Marsh pressed her lips together. Tom looked away. Someone whispered, and then I heard it. Soft, almost invisible. This is what I mean. Ethan's voice. Quiet, but not quiet enough. That was it. The second piece, placed perfectly. My chest burned because I understood exactly what he had just done. He didn't force anything. He didn't argue. He didn't push. He showed them. And now, they were starting to believe him. I looked at my dad. He was staring at the table. At the small puddle of water. His jaw tight, his shoulders slightly hunched. Not because of the spill, but because of what it meant. And for the first time that day, I saw doubt in his eyes. That scared me more than anything. 15 minutes later, Ethan made his move. He stepped into the center of the room. Not dramatically, not loudly, just enough to be noticed. Can I say something? He asked. The room quieted. Slowly. I want to thank everyone for coming, he began. This house is beautiful. Lauren did an incredible job. He glanced at me, smiled, then he turned back to the room. But I think we all know, this isn't the whole solution. Silence. My heart started pounding. Dad deserves more than this, he continued. He deserves care, safety, people around him all the time. I stepped forward. Ethan, but he didn't stop. I spoke to a professional, he said, and there are options. He walked to the table, opened the folder, spread the papers out. Guardianship. Power of attorney. Nursing home brochure, right there in front of everyone. Dad, he said gently, we can take care of everything today. And then, he slid a pen across the table. The room went completely still. My father looked down at it, his hands shaking. Not from arthritis this time. From pressure. From fear. From the weight of the decision sitting in front of him. And Ethan just stood there, watching, waiting. Whenever you're ready, he said softly. I looked around the room. 15 people, all watching, all silent, and for the first time, I realized something terrifying. If I didn't do something right now, I was going to lose everything, not just the house, my father. For a second, I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. All I could see was that pen, resting right in front of my father. And my dad, he was staring at it like it weighed 100 pounds, his fingers curled slowly around it, not gripping, just holding, like he wasn't sure what it meant anymore. Dad, I said softly, but my voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded far away, thin. Ethan stepped slightly closer to him, not touching, not forcing, just present, guiding. You're doing the right thing, he said quietly, trust me. That's when something inside me snapped. Not loud, not dramatic, just clear, because I finally understood. This wasn't about convincing Dad, this was about controlling the room. If everyone here believed Ethan, then Dad would believe him too. And I wasn't going to let that happen. Don't sign it. My voice cut through the room. Sharp, steady. Everyone turned toward me. Ethan exhaled slowly. Lauren, don't do this right now. I stepped forward. Closer to the table, closer to my dad. I said, don't sign it. Dad's hand froze. The pen hovered above the paper. Give me 10 minutes, I said. That's all I'm asking. Ethan's jaw tightened. 10 minutes isn't going to change reality. No, I said calmly. But it might expose it. That word hit. Expose. A ripple moved through the room. People shifted, looked at each other. Ethan forced a small laugh. Expose what exactly? I didn't answer him. Instead, I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and placed it on the table. Right next to the papers, before anyone signs anything. I said, you deserve to see what I found. The room went silent again, but this time, it felt different, heavier, sharper. I unlocked my phone, opened the screenshots, turned the screen toward them. This, I said, is my father's bank account? Ethan didn't move, but I saw it. That tiny shift in his eyes. In the last 3 weeks, I continued, there have been 4 withdrawals. I swiped. $2,800. Swipe. $1,000. Swipe. $1,800. Swipe. $1,300. Total. I looked up. $6,900. Murmurs started low. Uneasy. I turned to my dad. Did you take out any of this money? He didn't hesitate. No. That one word echoed. Ethan stepped forward quickly. It's a joint account, he said. I have access. That's completely legal. I nodded. You're right. And then I swiped again. This is an email, I said, sent to Ethan. I turned the screen so everyone could see. Appraisal appointment confirmed. Silence, client. Ethan Holloway. Now the room changed completely. Completely. People weren't confused anymore. They were watching, really watching you. Hired someone to appraise this house, I said, without telling Dad. Ethan's voice came faster now. I was just trying to understand the value. And you paid for it. I cut in with money from his account. Boom. That was it? The moment everything cracked, Mrs. Marsh stepped forward. Ethan, is that true? He looked at her, then at me, then back at her. This is being twisted, he said. I'm trying to help. No, I said quietly. You're trying to sell. The room shifted again. This time, away from him. I could feel it. Ethan felt it too. You don't know what I've been dealing with, he snapped. His voice louder now, sharper. I had no choice. You always have a choice, I said. And you made yours. Silence. Heavy. Unforgiving. Then, I picked up my phone again. Dad, I said, gently, there's one more thing. I tapped the screen. Dialed the number. Speaker on. The phone rang. Once. Twice. Click. This is Janet Perkins? My name is Lauren, I said. You're on speaker with my father and everyone here. Understood, she replied calmly. I placed the phone on the table, right between the papers. Mr. Holloway, she said, I'm an elder law attorney. The room went completely still. I need to ask you one question. Dad looked at the phone. Then at me, then at Ethan. Do you want to sign the guardianship papers in front of you? A pause, a long one. Then no. Clear. Strong. Final. Ethan's face changed, just slightly, but enough. Then no one can force you. Janet continued. Legally, you are competent. A court would not grant guardianship based on what I've reviewed. A wave moved through the room. Not loud, but powerful. Relief. Shock. Realization. And, one more thing, she added. The financial withdrawals, if unauthorized, could be considered elder financial exploitation. That word landed like thunder. Exploitation. Ethan stepped back. His confidence gone. This is insane, he said. This is a setup. But no one was listening anymore, because now, they could see him. The concerned son, not the worried brother. The truth. And then, my father stood up slowly, carefully, but on his own. The room fell silent. He looked at Ethan, long, hard. I kept your picture on the fridge, he said quietly. Ethan didn't speak. Every day, Dad continued. I waited for you to come back. His voice shook, but not with weakness, with truth. And this is what you do. Ethan opened his mouth, but nothing came out. My hands shake, Dad said. My knees hurt. He lifted his hand, let everyone see it tremble. But my mind, he looked straight at him, is mine. Then he pushed the pen away. I'm not signing anything. And just like that, it was over. For a moment, no one moved, no one spoke. My father was still standing there, his hands slightly shaking, but his decision, rock solid. Ethan didn't argue, didn't shout, didn't fight back, because he knew he had lost. I picked up the papers from the table, folded them, and pushed them back toward him. We're done here, I said. He looked at me, then at Dad, then around the room, and for the first time since he walked in, he looked small. The confidence, the charm, the control, all gone. One by one, people started stepping back. Mrs. Marsh shook her head, slowly. Tom looked disappointed. Ray didn't even look at him anymore. That was the worst part. Not anger, not shouting. Silence. Judgment. Truth. Ethan grabbed the folder. Stuffed the papers inside. This isn't over, he muttered. But his voice didn't have the same weight anymore because now, everyone knew. Dad didn't say anything. He just turned and walked toward the door, no help, no support, on his own. I followed him outside. The air felt different. Lighter. The man with the camera was packing up his equipment. Walked straight up to him. Who hired you? I asked. He hesitated, then nodded toward Ethan. That appraisal is cancelled, I said firmly. The owner did not authorize it. He didn't argue, just nodded, double quotes understood. Behind me, I heard the front door open. Dad stepped onto the porch. Ethan came out a few seconds later, holding his car keys. For a second, the three of us just stood there like strangers. Then I broke the silence. How much? Ethan frowned. What? How much do you owe? He didn't answer right away. Then finally, 47. I nodded slowly. So you were going to sell a $325,000 house. I looked him dead in the eyes. to fix your $47,000 mistake. He looked away. The startup failed, he said quietly. My partner left. Investors pulled out. I had no options. No, I said. You had options. I stepped closer. You just chose the easiest one. Silence, I thought. He started, then stopped. What? I asked. I thought he'd be better off, he said. I shook my head no. My voice was calm, but it cut deeper than anger ever. Could you thought you'd be better off? That was the truth. Simple, clear, impossible to argue with. Ethan didn't respond. He just stood there, like he was finally seeing himself. I'm not paying your debt, I said. He nodded slightly. I know. I can send you a financial advisor's number, I added. But the rest is on you. He let out a long breath. I'm sorry, Lauren. For the first time, I believed him. Not because he changed, but because for once, he wasn't trying to convince anyone. He turned to Dad. I'm sorry. Dad didn't answer. Not immediately. He just looked at him, long. Deep. Then, he said something simple. Something quiet. You can visit. Ethan blinked. The door's not locked. Dad added. And that was it. No forgiveness. Speech. No emotional hug, just a boundary. And a door. Ethan nodded, turned. Walked to his car. I watched him drive away. The same way he had 7 years ago. Only this time, he left with nothing. That afternoon, we went to the bank. Dad sat across from the teller. Back straight. Voice steady. I want to remove a name from my account. Which name? She asked. He didn't hesitate. Ethan Holloway. The form printed. Dad signed it, slowly, carefully, just like he signed everything in life. And just like that, it was done. The account was his again. On the way home, neither of us spoke much. We didn't need to, because everything that mattered had already been said. That night, I stayed a little longer than usual. Dad was in the workshop. The window was open. The lake was still. The light was soft. He stood at the bench, holding a small piece of wood. What are you making? I asked. He didn't answer right away, just kept carving. Slow. Careful. Then he held it up. A small bird. Simple. Beautiful. Your mom liked birds, he said quietly. I smiled. I remember. He placed it gently on the bench, looked at it for a moment. Then suddenly, he broke. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. I almost lost this, he whispered. I stepped closer, put my hand on his back. You didn't, I said. He shook his head. I almost let him take it. I didn't say anything. Because sometimes, people don't need answers, they just need space to feel. Months passed. Dad stayed in the house. Still cooking. Still walking to the lake. Still building things in the workshop. Not perfect. Not easy, but his. Completely. His. The neighbors started checking in. Quietly, naturally. Not out of pity, but out of respect. And for the first time in years, Dad wasn't just surviving. He was living. Ethan, he called sometimes. Short conversations. Careful words. No money, no pressure. Just distance. Whether he changed or not, I don't know. But I know this. Some people come back to fix things, and some come back when there's something to take. The difference, you don't hear it in what they say. You see it in what they do. I didn't build my dad a house so he could live longer. I built it so he could live like himself. And every morning, he opens that front door with one hand. No struggle, no resistance. Free, and for me, that's enough.